I am personally shocked that this scheme exists. I mean, it seems to be absolutely tailor-made for corrupt money. I don't enjoy living in London, a city which is now, has a tremendous reputation for dirty money circulating. You look at vast property developments in London and you're told that they have been bought up by oligarchs. This puts pressure, by the way, on property prices in London and in Britain. But then people are saying, yes, but we want the money to be invested in this country. And maybe they're sort of saying, well, even if it's dirty money, we want the money. Where do you come down on this, Paul?
Well, I think arguably there's been a bit too much foreign investment over the years in terms of people from overseas buying up our assets and, as you said, pushing property prices up. And I do think we should screen people. I do think we should take a very robust view on who is allowed to get a visa, who is allowed to invest in our country. And I think the process should be a very rigid one. I think we have to look at people's backstories, we have to look at their history, we have to consider what their motivations are for wanting a visa or for investing in the country. We have to consider what good that will do, if any at all, for wider society, for the economy. And if they don't get a clean bill of health, then frankly we do have to say, look, there's no place here for you. I don't think this is necessarily a party political thing, because arguably these rules were relaxed most when the new Labour government was in power, which I think is a sad thing. But certainly I think this is the right move. We need to be much more robust in terms of screening people who want to invest in this country.
Arlene, it is indeed striking that this policy has been in place for a long time, I think since 1994. So it has spanned Labour and Conservative governments, and of course the coalition government for that matter. I think it also raises an interesting question, doesn't it, which is whether we're prepared to pay any price or bear any burden whatsoever in countering Russia. Because if there are those people now arguing, we've got to keep the 2 million golden visa scheme because we're going to lose a bit for the British economy, well, then it raises the question as to whether we're willing to do anything in order to sanction the Russians.
Well, I think that's right. And Priti Patel has been writing in the Daily Telegraph today about all of this and saying that she's going to take action and it's not just going to stop with the ending of the golden visas. But you're right. I mean, this has been around for quite a long time. 1994, they were brought in. They were extended in 2008 under Gordon Brown, as Paul has said. There were some restrictions put in during the coalition government. But, I mean, there's a difference between investing in the UK and having a visa. I mean, the two things are separate. So when people argue that if you do away with these golden visas that you're actually going to cut off inward investment, I don't accept that, because you can still invest in the UK in a business without having a visa to come here. Those two things are separate. And I do think it's time that our government took action against rogue states and against the so-called dirty money that's coming into the UK. I mean, it's been around for a long time. It has taken the Russian aggression on the Ukrainian border to see some action in relation to this. But I'm glad it is happening now, and I hope that we've learned the lessons from all of this and that we don't introduce something like this again in the future.
Yes, I mean, I've been very disturbed. I've seen that within the European Union there are governments from island economies that offer passports and even numbers of passports to families to people making quite small investments. So what that means is that people have money, can obtain a European Union passport. Once you've got a European Union passport, of course, you can travel and settle anywhere in the European Union. So, I mean, there are different aspects to this scandal. So, Paul, you're happy with what Priti Patel is doing. I was rather shocked that I think we've been shamed into this by foreign pressure. It has been other governments saying, look, we're trying to have a common front against the Russians, and London is well known as being the centre of dirty Russian money. There's some national shame in that, isn't there?
Well, it's the age-old question. How many of your morals are you prepared to trade in order to benefit economically and financially? And this is a question I think that can be applied in the context not just of our relations with Russia, but China and, dare I say, Saudi Arabia, and a number of other countries who we freely trade with and apparently happily trade with, but who have at the very least questionable human rights regimes. Now, some people would call that realpolitik, other people would call it hypocrisy. I just don't think we should be selective about this stuff. We need to be consistent. If we apply that criteria to Russia, we should apply it to other countries as well.